Well, lucky to have him on. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, on Speak after our show today and after First Things First. So let's start with this. You were on the forefront of this story. Belichick to Carolina. I saw Seth Wickersham today said he thought the Jets was the best job, and he was interested in Jacksonville. Non-starter with the Jets. I'm not sure who wants that job. But are you surprised he took a 23rd best college football job in the country?
I was surprised originally, Colin, when he took the interview. But then it became less surprising as his, I would say, appetite from NFL teams was not what he thought it would be. I don't believe that Belichick assumed going into this cycle that he wouldn't have the pick of his litter. Now, last year, the only team that showed tangible interest was the Atlanta Falcons. They got pretty far down the line. Arthur Blank liked him. But ultimately, Bill was never willing to really seize control, even though he told Atlanta, I'm okay giving some of the personnel to someone else. I don't really believe, and NFL teams don't believe,
that's right,
that he was willing to go down that route. So as the market started to materialize, or lack thereof, it became clear to Bill that I need to take the most secure position I can right now, bring my staff, whether it's Michael Lombardi, maybe it's Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, because NFL teams weren't going for that. They didn't want to bring in Matt Patricia. They didn't want to bring in Josh McDaniels. So all due respect to Bill, the greatest coach of all time, at 72, 73 years old, the market was simply not what he thought it would be.
Well, it's interesting because that to me means Mike Vrabel.
Yep, there you go.
Is the number one choice for Chicago and the Jets and Jacksonville. My question is, are those jobs good enough for Vrabel?
So I think Bill was right when he thought that Jacksonville could be a good job because the owner would allow you a lot of control. Now, I don't believe they're going to move on from Trent Baalke, the GM. I think they're going to keep him.
That's problematic for me.
That's a big problem. And a lot of teams don't understand that. But Trent has buddied up in a way that is commendable to Tony Khan and Shad Khan. He's indispensable to them. I don't think he's going to get fired. Doug Peterson will not be there after the year. Chicago's a great job, and I think Bill identified that as a really appealing
It's a really
gig.
good roster.
It is. However, Bill was never going to have the type of control there that he wanted, and I think it's very clear among league circles that Chicago, at least right now, looks at the offensive side of the ball. Maybe it's a Ben Johnson, someone of that caliber, as we need to address the Caleb Williams dilemma we've had this year, which is we haven't been able to develop him the right way. So to your point about Vrabel, Chicago's a great job. New York's, the Giants, are a great job. But if you don't win there, you get worn down. And we saw it even with the Jets. You know, all due respect to Robert Saleh, I don't think he's a bad football coach.
Neither do I.
But he got worn down by the New York media blitz. And Woody Johnson was a non-starter, to your point with Bill. So, listen, there's going to be 6, 7, 8 jobs. There always are.
Vrabel's the top choice.
Vrabel is absolutely the top, or I think Ben Johnson. Those are the two guys that teams are looking at. One's an offensive wonderkind. Another's an established defensive, players first guy that took the Tennessee Titans to back-to-back NFC
And that was a
AFC
dysfunctional organization when he was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the other one that's interesting is the Raiders. So, the Raiders, Colin, I'm actually curious for you. Is that a good job in your mind?
Well, first of all, in a division with Andy Reid, Harbaugh, and Sean Payton, Antonio Pierce, and I know him and I like him, feels a little overwhelmed. That is the best coaching division. I mean, you're making an argument now. You have 3 first-ballot Hall of Fame coaches. Antonio Pierce has never been a head coach. I don't think it was a winning proposition. I mean, does it sound like to you going into a season, Antonio Pierce and Gardner Minshew against Harbaugh and Herbert and Mahomes and Reed? I think it's a very interesting job. They have a left tackle, a superstar tight end, an all-world pass rusher. They, to me, are an offensive coach and a quarterback away from being interesting. But even if they get it right, the division is a Hall of Fame Mount Rushmore.
It's a great point. I would say Mark Davis earlier this week in Dallas said that he likes how hard the guys are still playing for AP.
Yes.
So that's a good thing.
Yes.
And I think we both like Antonio Pierce. The bigger question is Mark Davis going to want to pay 3 different head coaches who are no longer in the building? I talked to a GM last night about this, knowing I was going to come on. What's the situation in Vegas? And he said that means he would, if he fires AP, he's paying Pierce, McDaniels, and Gruden, and none of them are in the building.
Yeah.
So then you have the Tom Brady element. Now, Brady is obviously a minority owner, but he's going to give a validity and a cachet, a prestige to that organization, and I think Mark Davis will listen to him. So then we have our Fox friend Tom Brady. You have Mike Vrabel, their former teammates. I don't know whether or not the Raiders are going to move on from Pierce. It's a really good job if you're built to withstand those three coaches in that division. If you can win there, that's an organization that is so hungry.
If I was the Raiders, I would absolutely offer Vrabel the job. But if I was Vrabel, I wouldn't take it. That's the way if I was Chicago, I'd offer Vrabel the job. If I'm Vrabel, I'm not sure I'd take it. But I speak with Mike Vrabel, and I will tell you that what matters to him, and I don't want to get too much into the details, is roster composition. And I think it's reasonable to say that Belichick and Vrabel both see Chicago as a very good roster right now.
I would totally agree.
Okay. Philadelphia. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Ingram. Is it tense or overblown?
It's overblown because this is pro sports. You know, I think there's a misconception among fans, Colin, that all these guys hang out, they're all friends. It's just not the case, especially in a locker room with 53 guys, 53 egos. We had talked 5 or 6 weeks ago that it was too early to panic in Philly, and they've now become the hottest team in the league. I think at some point down the season, down the stretch, that Hurts is going to have a big play, a couple big plays to A.J. Brown. It's going to happen. And they're going to dap each other up, and everything's going to be copacetic. And we're going to laugh at this moment, saying, oh, they're beefing, A.J. Brown wants the football. This is what happens. And winning does solve everything, but we're not at the point in the season where it's panic mode for anybody if you're winning. Like, the Eagles are just fine. They are in the exact position they want to be in. They have the offensive coordinator, to what J-Mac said earlier in the segment, earlier in the day. I don't think this is an issue at all.
Okay. Tonight, if San Francisco loses, now I wrote their obituary 3 weeks ago. If San Francisco loses tonight, it feels like to me it is a reboot. It is time to move multiple pieces. Do they view it that way?
And are you putting Kyle in that?
No. Kyle's safe. Kyle's fine. I think Lynch is fine. I think it's a well-run organization. They've had draft misses I don't love. That's life in the NFL. Yep. But I think it's much more. I mean, if the Rams lose, we're going to say they're almost this close. If the Niners lose, they've been blown out by Buffalo. They've been blown out by the Packers. So my take is, what the Niners lose tonight by a touchdown at home. What are we saying tomorrow?
Well, we're saying probably what's going on with Brock Purdy, and are they going to pay Brock Purdy? There is a contingent of Niners fans that don't believe Kyle Shanahan should be the head coach. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, same.
They're not moving on from Kyle Shanahan. If they did, there would be 25 teams lining up to get him.
Yes. He'd be the Andy Reid getting let go in Philly.
Absolutely. Brock Purdy, before the year, I think they believed, his management, that they would get 60 to 65 million after this year, and that he would break the record for most paid quarterback. I still think they're going to pay Brock Purdy. If he was not Mr. Irrelevant, if he was a first or second round pick, I don't even know if we'd been having this conversation. The reality is, it's been a season from hell. They've had tragedy with Travarius Ward, Trent Williams. They've had injury with Debo and McCaffrey.
Purdy's hurt again.
Kittle. This is not a panic mode in San Francisco. Okay. This is still a roster built to win. I don't know if they're Super Bowl ready yet. They're probably not.
They're not.
But they're still one of the better teams in the NFC.
Yeah, if Shanahan's let go, literally he will be hired in a day.
Sean McVay, other than him, that's probably the most coveted head coach.
Yeah.
So,
great stuff.
Thanks, Colin.
Jordan Schultz.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.